All right. Well, good morning. This is sort of the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. Can't really take too many of those names because probably copyrighted Comedy Central and Viacom or CBS or whoever owns Comedy Central now. I guess it's MTV and whomever. Anyway, don't really have an agenda. This is just going to be super quick. Essentially, coming up after the new year, on a semi-regular basis, I will be coming to you live via YouTube, and we'll probably just get our morning started off with just sort of a maybe some news and politics and things like that. And the reason that we chose after the New Year is because ultimately we all have a ton of stuff going on, and hopefully by then we'll have an idea of how we're going to do this. We may do a few test runs here and there, but this is just sort of a good morning and a warning, I guess. Did want to go ahead and make sure everybody knows that I've got two or three really great episodes coming up of the All About Nothing podcast releasing on Monday. We have a recap of the Soda City Comic Con. My guest for that episode is Mr. Donald Brock Jr., councilman from Blythewood, South Carolina, as well as the head of the spear for the Soda City Comic Con. We talk about the new, the second run of the Wilmington Coastal Comic Con, which will be coming up first weekend in March, and also the kickoff to the Boardwalk Comic Con, which will be in October of 2025. So not this year, but next year. And it's a really great episode. Also, Leroy Green joined me as a guest host for this episode because Zach was unavailable. Zach, actually, if you don't know, my co-host for the podcast, Zach, he took a new job, which we're all very excited for him, and he was in training for the new job. So he was unavailable. So Leroy Green stepped in. The episode that drops on the following Monday is actually going to be a part two of the episode I record with Mr. Brock Jr. and Leroy Green. So that one will actually follow up the next week, but it's a continuation of the episode that we recorded. So we recorded about 2.5 hours of content and figured that we didn't really want to leave a whole lot out. So I decided we'd just do 2 episodes of it and release it back to back. We recorded with Matt Villardo this week. He is, of course, the Democratic candidate for the South Carolina House District 26 out of Fort Mill, South Carolina. Matt is a regular on the podcast, and it was good to have him on as well. We did get Zach King back. Fact of the matter is, in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and even up into Virginia, this has been a week of recovery for all of those states. Helene hit as a Category 4 on Thursday night a week ago in the Big Bend of Florida. I call it the armpit of Florida. But Helene came on shore as a Category 4. It devastated Florida and rolled its way through southern Georgia and then up towards between Atlanta and Athens on the eastern side of the storm, which is typically going to be the most likely to have a lot of the wind and rain because of the way that the forward motion of a storm sort of flows. What you have is on the eastern side, if the storm is flowing or moving to the north and to the east, then on the eastern side of that storm is where you have some of the highest wind speeds because the storm is moving forward as well as wind speeds. So you add those together and you get an idea of what the sustained wind speeds may be. As then gusts, of course, you can add in that forward motion. And Helene was moving at a pretty good clip. I think at one point it was moving at between 20 and 30 miles an hour to the northeast. And then, of course, it curved back around. But Atlanta, lots of rain. South Carolina, and here in Columbia, we had a lot of rain. I had what was the I went down to the Riverwalk, which is on the Congaree River, just past where the Saluda River and the Broad River actually come together, and the where they converge. It's a lot of water coming on the Saluda out of Lake Murray, and then the Broad River has an immense flow that is coming out of as far away as North Carolina. And the water levels here got up to just under 32 feet, which was either record or near record status. And it is. So I went down to the Riverwalk and took some pictures and video and whatnot. I actually had my first, I can't call it viral, but I'll call it Barrett viral, TikTok that has so far hit more than 225,000 views or something like that, which is incredible. It has not duplicated itself in much in the way of follows, but still trying to get to that 1,000 mark so that I can go live. So we'll see where that goes. And if you watch this and you haven't followed on TikTok, you can go to our website at theallaboutnothing.com. We have links there. On TikTok, you can find me. It's just at Barrett Gruber. But I don't know. It seems dumb, but the idea of being able to go live on TikTok sort of has some appeal. Because people jump on there and you can communicate with them. You can invite them in to chat and talk and talk about some of these things that we talk about on the podcast and actually get some decent interaction. So anyway, the news, things you want to probably pay attention to. Jack Smith released or the Judge Chutney. Anyway, Jack Smith, they did drop the basically it's a filing, a court filing on the January 6th that was released to the public that really tells us a lot of what we already kind of figured or knew, just the level of acknowledgement that Donald Trump that had as far as what happened on January 6th and his role in it and others' roles in it, and honestly, I think some of the most incredible, the most damning information is some of the information that comes across on it as far as who participated, as well as who turned evidence against Donald Trump. I know, I laugh. It's not funny. It's I guess part of it is funny. There is a good portion of it that's kind of funny, and I don't dislike it because I know that the people that love Donald Trump are probably going to see these things and read these things, and they'll have the same reaction that he has, which is just complete cognitive dissonance. That they will deny all of the evidence and all of the testimony in an attempt to justify Donald Trump's behavior, and it isn't. I don't know that for most of them that it's ever going to get fixed, because ultimately these people, I don't know, these people they're citizens, so I respect that, or they're Americans. The reactions that I have to it, purely out of my respect for the court system. I don't know where my voice is going right now. But purely out of respect for the justice system and the court system and how these how they do these investigations and how they have the utmost respect for everyone involved in an attempt to make sure that justice is served in the most, I want to use the word respect again. I mean, Donald Trump talks about how unfair this whole process has been against him, and that, for anyone else that would have potentially promoted a riot and an insurrection against the United States with all of the mounting evidence, that if it were anyone else, they would not be free right now to campaign to be president of the United States. That, if he's acknowledging how unfair it is, it's the fact that he gets a lot more. He's free right now, and if it were anyone else, besides maybe another president or something like that, if it were anyone else, they'd be in a prison cell, and also they wouldn't have had the benefit of their court dates continuing to be pushed back further and further and further. And our Justice Department went very slowly on this. I'm disappointed that there was nearly 3.5 years available to mount this investigation and then follow through on it. But ultimately, I think that there were going to wind up being hangups as well. I think that we can assume that the Supreme Court was going to play into Donald Trump's pocket, and potentially, grant him some sort of immunity from some of the actions. They granted that, but then passed the court cases back down to the lower courts to determine what would potentially be considered immune and what wouldn't, which actions were presidential actions and which weren't. So, it's hard to imagine a scenario where someone else who could have done these things would have been able to get to live their life and do what they want outside of a prison cell in this sort of situation. So, take it what you will. So anyway, again, just to recap, new episode comes out on Monday morning, and it will be a recap to the Soda City Comic Con here in Columbia as well. We Donald Brock Jr., Leroy Green. We are without Zach King again, but really good episode, and I think everyone will enjoy it. So make sure you are subscribed to the podcast wherever it is that you listen. You can go to theallaboutnothing.com to find links and details to our social media as well. You can follow us. You can follow us here on YouTube. You can follow us on TikTok. So check out theallaboutnothing.com. You can also find an archive of all of our past episodes. I've had a lot of guests over the course of the last, basically the last year. And I guess last thing I'll show you. Did get this in the mail yesterday. We did compete in the 2024 Best of Columbia, and we did get this in the mail yesterday. This is our certificate for being the runner. I can't figure out where my finger goes. Runner up. We did get runner up this year. That's all I'll say. So. But anyway, so make sure to check out theallaboutnothing.com. You can find links and details. Last thing I'll say is definitely go check your voter registration. Make sure that you have a plan to vote in the November election, the general election. It's on November 5th. Early voting has already started in some states. It's going to be starting here in South Carolina on October 21st and run through the 2nd of November. So we'll get a good full 2 weeks of early voting. That is what I'm going to do. I would suggest that that everyone that can early vote. I don't know that the election is going to be as big a turnout as some are predicting. I think that it is still going to be substantial, and because of, at least here in South Carolina, the addition of the constitutional amendment that was added, I think that it's entirely possible that is going to make it slow down the ballot lines. It's going to slow down the lines at the polling places because people are going to be reading this constitutional question, and it not make a whole lot of sense to them, because if you go and actually look up the law, and I tell you what, I'll get on next week just to discuss that some. But the constitutional amendment here that's been added to the ballot for South Carolina is a little bit confusing, because the way it's worded, it makes it sound as though in South Carolina, if you are not a citizen, that you can vote, and that is absolutely not true. The constitutional amendment is changing one word that basically makes it so that it is more exclusive to vote in South Carolina, where it is, the wording makes it sound as though it's more inclusive now. And I've said this before, that inclusivity is always better exclusivity. But it's one word that's basically being changed, and like I said, we'll discuss that. I'll discuss that with you on next week. But just go online, check your voter registration, check to make sure you know exactly where your precinct is. District lines get redrawn frequently, and South Carolina is no different. Georgia is no different. So those redrawings could potentially put you in a different precinct than you normally vote. I think, it's not necessarily that it's being done on purpose, but I think that it is very opportunistic that someone could potentially not know where it is they're supposed to vote, and that it's opportunistic that there is a ballot question, a constitutional amendment ballot question on the South Carolina ballot that could potentially cause confusion as well. And I think that these are the types of things that are used to try and disenfranchise voters without actually doing it, because with the right knowledge and preparedness, voting is still pretty simple. Even if they try and put a bunch of hiccups in the way, voting is still very simple. So anyway, that's going to do it. Go check out the website, theallaboutnothing.com. You can check your voter registration on our website, theallaboutnothing.com/voter. And I don't know why my desk is beeping. But you can go and you can do all of that from our website and subscribe to the show, theallaboutnothing.com. Anyway, I'm Barry Gruber. Thank you very much for listening. This is the theallaboutnothing.com kind of daily show. So we'll see you next time. Be safe. Stay kind. I think I did that a little differently. Stay kind, be safe, and keep your hands to yourself. Thanks for listening.